Welcome back to International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars, and check it out. Just when you thought it wouldn't get no stranger, I knew it would. We got a duo today, mother and son. We're going to get straight off into this. Check this out. Houston mom, son charged for operating sex trafficking ring. Mother of missing victim outraged. This story takes a lot of twists and a lot of turns. A mom and son sex trafficking operation where they said they had up to a dozen females. Some of them minors, some of them not minors.
What?
And also, they say this story right here is the reason a few years back, some of you might know in Houston, Texas, Bissonnet, the track Bissonnet was shut down. You know, it was under heavy surveillance. And they say this is one of the reasons why that track was hit with so much force by the police while it was under surveillance. They put up barriers on the track, surveilled it night and day. So let's get straight off into this. They say this is the reason why this story right here is one of the main reasons why. Let's jump straight off into this. Check it out.
This house in Northeast Harris County that court documents contend Arian Jackson housed as many as a dozen women, some of them underage, for the purposes of selling them for sex. One of the girls told investigators they would work this portion of Bissonnet under orders to earn $1,000 a day. Investigators also found a text message from that girl, just 14, to another alleged trafficker in which she complained about her relationship with Jackson. Quote, "I was his first and his down since day one girl," she wrote. "I just don't understand why he treats me the way he does because I know he loves me. That man will always love me because we've been lovers before. But it's just different now that there's so many girls." Jackson is a fledgling rapper with accounts on the website SoundCloud and a modest following on Instagram. We contacted a number he posted for bookings, and a man called back claiming to work with Jackson musically. He denied the charges and said whoever claimed that was a jealous woman who wanted the popular Jackson for herself. Jackson has a criminal history. We even found the FBI tweeted his photograph in 2017, searching for him as an alleged gang member. Now he's behind bars, facing a charge of aggravated promotion of prostitution.
Y'all heard it right there, facing the charge. He started off with that, facing the charge of aggravated prostitution. As you'll see, the charges increased. They say him and his mother were dealing with minors. As you can hear from the story, there were minors in that house. Okay, here we go. A Houston mother and son charged with operating a sex trafficking ring have now both been sentenced, but one of the victims is still missing. And that's the young girl. I believe they say she went missing when she was 15 years old. So I'm not sure the outcome of that case. I don't believe they ever found that young girl. Okay, let's get off into this though. Here we go. Investigators say Tashika Bush participated with her own son, Arian Jackson, to traffic women and girls for sex. Bush was the last of 4 people to be sentenced. Kristen Galvin's mom, whose daughter is still missing, says Bush's 12-month sentence isn't nearly long enough. So the mom was sentenced to 12 months, a year. And then you will see that Arian Jackson was sentenced to almost 30 years in prison. Leave those kids alone. A lot of you think this is a game and you still think it's a joke is some type of get-rich-quick scheme by dealing with these underage children in human trafficking. You can get up to life in prison for dealing with a minor. Don't do it. Leave those children alone. Here we go. With the judge handing out less than the minimum for all these cases, how are we ever going to get ahead of human trafficking, says Robin Corey, whose baby, Kristen Gavin, was just 15 years old when she went missing in January 2020. It's been 5 years. It's almost 6 years, 5.5, over 5.5, since this young girl was missing. January 2020. Gavin was being trafficked with 11 other girls and women in a sex trafficking ring run by Jackson with the help of his mother, Bush. This is what they said, and this is what they were sentenced for. Jackson could have received 30 years to life in prison, but Judge Lee Rosenthal gave Jackson a 27-year sentence. Now Rosenthal has sentenced Jackson's mom to 1 year in prison. She only received a year in prison, but she can thank her lucky stars for that one. A year in prison, but as you can see, her son received a 27-year sentence. And also, he must register as a lifetime sex offender upon release.
Game over.
Don't do it. Leave those children alone. Children cannot consent. We'll say that again. Underage minors cannot consent. I don't know what it's going to take for y'all to get that. And I think a lot of you already know that. You just had these pedophile ways about you. Let's get into this. Here we go. Take this pic down. Okay, here we go.
A Houston mother and son charged with operating a sex trafficking ring have now both been sentenced, but one of the victims is still missing.
Fox 26's Dominique Keith joining us live at the federal courthouse in downtown Houston with just how much time mother and son will spend behind bars. Dominique.
Yeah, investigators say Tashika Bush was participating with her own son, Arian Jackson, to traffic girls and women for sex. Now, Bush was the last of 4 people to be sentenced in connection with this sex trafficking ring. Kristen Galvan's mother, whose daughter is still missing, says Bush's 1-year sentence that she received isn't nearly long enough.
And with the judge handing out less than the minimum for...
And this is the mom of the missing girl that they say dealt with the guy and his mom. Here we go.
Long enough.
And with the judge handing out less than the minimum for all of these cases, how are we ever going to get ahead of human trafficking?
Robin Corey's baby, Kristen Galvan, was just 15 years old when she went missing in 2020 after being trafficked with 11 other girls and women in a sex trafficking ring run by Arian Jackson with the help of his own mother, Tashika Bush.
If this is a family business, selling children, we have a huge problem.
Jackson could have received 30 years to life in prison, but Judge Lee Rosenthal gave Jackson a 27-year sentence. Now Rosenthal has sentenced Jackson's mom to 1 year in prison, and Bush can surrender after the holidays.
My chair is still empty for Kristen. This woman gets to go have Christmas with her family and turn herself in at the beginning of the year for her trafficking charges? What kind of justice is this?
In addition to mother and son, 2 others, Samaria Kearney and Gerald Jones, have also been charged in connection with the sex trafficking ring. Corey didn't miss 1 court hearing, but she was never able to read her victim impact statement on behalf of her missing daughter. What is the biggest thing that you want to say?
Where's Kristen? That's all I want to know. Where's Kristen?
January 2nd makes 4 years since Kristen Galvan vanished, a date that's closing in on this heartbroken mother who's trying to get through what's supposed to be a happy time of year full of peace and presence.
The holidays are the worst because she used to decorate with me every holiday.
Kristen Galvan was last seen on Bissonnette Street, a strip that was known for years for human trafficking and has now been shut down. And Robin Corey says she's grateful for that, and she says she knows that her daughter's story helped put Bissonnette out of business.
Y'all heard it right there. She said her daughter's story helped put Bissonnette out of business. That's what they said. They said Bissonnette was out of business. Anyways, let's go on to this other story about this. Mother and son. Here we go.
Well, the judge charged with sentencing a man who pleaded guilty to child sex trafficking called his crimes horrific, but she also said she was struggling over what the right sentence should be. Fox 26's Dom Lakeith live at the federal courthouse where Arian Jackson was just sentenced to nearly 30 years in prison. Domily.
Yeah, the judge could have sentenced him to life, but she chose to sentence him to 27 years behind bars. Now, Arian Jackson, according to court testimony, kept 12 girls and women in a Houston house and trafficked them for sex, forcing them to earn $1,000 a day using drugs, threats, and beatings, according to the judge, to force the women and girls to comply. Now, Jackson cried today in the courtroom as he apologized to his victims, their families, and he told the judge, quote, "I never had a chance in life," and he asked the judge for mercy.
This is terrible. Houston, we have a problem, and they're selling our children.
He's now sentenced to 27 years in prison after previously pleading.
Y'all hear that? We're going to take that from the top. He's now sentenced to 27 years in prison. 27 years in prison. Leave those kids alone. You want to deal with children? This could be your fate too. Warn you time and time again, this is not the thing to do. Dealing with an underage minor. Listen, they do not have to find you guilty of the elements that it takes to find you guilty of human trafficking when you deal with a minor. Okay? Force, fraud, coercion, violence, and or the threats of violence can get you a long time in prison. When it comes to sex trafficking, when it comes to dealing with a minor, they don't need those elements. All they need is the proof that you dealt with a minor. And you too can receive up to 30 years in prison. Think it's a game if you want to. Find something legal to do. Here we go. We're going to start that over. Take that from the top. Here we go.
Well, the judge charged with sentencing a man who pleaded guilty to child sex trafficking called his crimes horrific, but she also said she was struggling over what the right sentence should be. Fox 26's Dom Lakeith live at the federal courthouse where Arian Jackson was just sentenced to nearly 30 years in prison. Domily.
Yeah, the judge could have sentenced him to life, but she chose to sentence him to 27 years behind bars. Now, Arian Jackson, according to court testimony, kept 12 girls and women in a Houston house and trafficked them for sex, forcing them to earn $1,000 a day using drugs, threats, and beatings, according to the judge, to force the women and girls to comply. Now, Jackson cried today in the courtroom as he apologized to his victims, their families, and he told the judge, quote, "I never had a chance in life," and he asked the judge for mercy.
This is terrible. Houston, we have a problem, and they're selling our children.
He's now sentenced to 27 years in prison after previously pleading guilty to sex trafficking minors with force, fraud, or coercion. One of 24-year-old Arian Jackson's victims was 15-year-old Kristen Galvan, who went missing back in January 2020, and she still hasn't been found.
I don't know where she is. There's been no new leads on her.
As far as my knowledge is, he doesn't know where she is. And if he did and she told me, I definitely would tell her family. I definitely would.
Jackson asked the judge for leniency because of his childhood. His father, Stephen Jackson, admits his son's upbringing was troubling, with parents in and out of prison, and according to the judge, Jackson's mom was a prostitute who was addicted to drugs. Jackson's father says he now won't see his son for nearly 30 years.
It's very emotional because I don't visit jails because I've been there too many times.
I mean, we've all come from different childhoods. You can't use that as an excuse. You don't mess with children, period. You don't sell children.
I just want to say to the family that my heart goes out to you. Me and my wife, we pray for you guys, and we wish that your daughter come back to you, and I just thank God that my son didn't get life behind this.
Now, the prosecutor says even while in the Harris County jail, according to the prosecutor, Arian Jackson was still smuggling cell phones and drugs into the jail and still trafficking women from inside the jail. Now, Arian Jackson's mom is also charged with sex trafficking. Her trial begins tomorrow. Reporting live in downtown Houston, I'm Damalie Keith, Fox 26 News.
And as you already know, the mom was sentenced to 1 year. And she turned herself in the top of this year. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison for sex trafficking, and sex trafficking involving minors. Y'all better take heed. Learn from the mistakes of others. Learn from the mistakes of these people in these stories. Take heed. Don't follow in the footsteps of these sex traffickers. Pay attention to what's going on out here. International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars, and we will see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video.